Good morning, and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. As Nicole said, this is something that it's not just that I want to talk about, it's something that is also happening to myself. Like this story that you're going to see today is part of my story as well. And there are two things that I want from you today. All right, one is to be open, because this is a new world and it's changing really fast in front of our eyes. So some of the things that I might say today are going to sound, that's too crazy, Javier. You're really pushing me there. Like it's not really resonated with me at this point. And that's okay. I'm expecting that in most cases. So if you're just open to a lot of the things that you're going to see, that's going to give you not just the opportunity to see things in a different way, but to have some additional conversations. And that is the second part that I want from you today. I want you to take this, not just go back to your offices and workplaces, but to take it at home, with your friends, with your family, with your peers, with the people that basically could be sitting with you on an airplane and you want to have a conversation about something. This is a great topic because it's touching not just every single person in this planet, but every single level of the organization and society as well. So please bear with me. I'm going to tell you a quick story about myself, because that is going to add some context about what's going on. I grew up in Colombia in the 80s. And if some of you remember that, it was basically the Pablo Escobar. Have any of you seen Narcos on Netflix? Perfect. So that was not a TV show for me. That was my life, right? So I had to basically grow and learn how to survive. And that's the key word, survive, in an environment where there was kidnapping, bombing, massacring, like everything that you could imagine that could go wrong in a society was happening in my hometown. I'm from the Southwest, so I was in one of the two cities with the most violence in the country. So my hometown used to be known as the most civic city in the country. And in the less than 10 years, it went from the most civic to one of the most violent. It was a big change in a very short period of time. And that's exactly what we're going through. We're going through massive change right now in a very short period of time. So some of the skills that we needed to learn really quickly were not about basically, I'm going to go to school and be able to learn basically how to be an engineer, a doctor, or a lawyer. We need to learn how to actually read the environment, how to sense danger, how to understand that something that we never thought was possible was about to happen. And that changed basically not just myself, but a society as a whole. We're going through that change right now. We need to learn basically how to sense things, how to understand that things could happen really, really fast. Because I'm going to give you some examples of organizations that missed that boat, that missed those signals, that thought they were safe, that thought that they had the best strategy, the best people, the best structure. And suddenly someone came along and just basically removed the entire world on their feet and changed those organizations forever. So this journey is about that. It's about learning how to survive an age that is full of change. Because we see that right now, and we're going to continue to see that over the next few months and years. Oh, yeah. So I'm calling this, What is the Future of Work? And I'm sure some of you have seen this, right, in other presentations. And it's about being comfortable with being uncomfortable. And it's one of those interesting things because we see it all the time, and we go on our days and things happen in front of us, and we don't realize how uncomfortable we are with some of the changes that are happening right now. We used to do things one way, now suddenly we have to do it in a different way. We used to go and basically see the world in a structure that was really easy for us to understand. And suddenly a new device comes along and changes everything. Inside our homes, inside our work, in the way we connect with people on the streets, in the way we connect with people around the world. And those things are happening really fast. So for me, one of the things that I'm realizing is that machines are coming. And when I say machines, it's not just about a specific machine like a cell phone. Right? I'm talking about the software inside those devices. And we see those changes happening really fast right now. And I believe that fairly soon we're going to start seeing machines having LinkedIn profiles. Right? And I'm not going to be surprised of that anymore. because a machine will advertise basically itself as capable and competent of doing anything that we do as humans. So we have to prepare ourselves for a world that is not just good enough to be a good professional and have the skills and have the talents, but we're going to have to compete with machines that can do everything faster, cheaper, for 24 hours a day. They don't take vacation. They don't go on mat leave. They don't do all the things that we do as people. And that is part of the transition that is happening today. We have gone from a world that people used to be afraid of being noticed and seen, now to be afraid of missing out. The younger generation, they call it FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. And it's because we are overwhelmed with data, overwhelmed with information. We have sources of Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, name it, news, like everything comes online, digital, through these devices. I have more networks, more social networks, than I ever had books in my life, right? And that is because these sources of information give me everything that I need. I don't need to go and search for anything anymore. Everything comes to me. But machines can do things in a very different way. They can learn everything really fast. So that is part, basically, of the change that is happening today. Bill Gates said many years ago that we usually overestimate the change that is going to happen over the next 3 years, but underestimate the change that will happen over the next 10. And that is absolutely true. We are going right now through a phase of transition where companies are starting to understand the value of technology in their organization. And when I say technology, I'm not talking about IT. I come from that world. I'm not saying that IT is going to become the driver of your business. What I'm trying to say is that technology and the capabilities that technology brings are going to change your organization. And because of that, I believe that in the future, and I'm talking the very near future, every company is going to be a tech company. And I'm going to say that again. Every company is going to be a tech company. And if I ask all of you today, how many of you have on your board that you know an expert in technology? Excellent. Right? Because that is one of the big changes that we need to go through. If the people that are defining the future, not just the next quarter of the organization, but the long-range vision for your organization, they don't understand technology, you're in trouble. You're missing the most important capability of the future. CEOs are working right now actively with other executives, trying to understand how a lot of these things are happening. But boards are way, way, way behind. And it's because we've been looking at IT people as technology people, and they're not. Let me say that again. We've been looking at IT people as technology people, and they are not. Technology needs now a new model of enablement that IT people never had. IT was not designed to be a business driver in the organization. And that is the change that is happening today. If you look at most CIOs right now, they're very concerned because they were not trained, developed, mentored to become the business leader that some organizations need today. There is a gap. There is a vacuum. And we have a lot of IT people trying to help businesses without the competency and without the knowledge that is really required to do that in the most efficient and effective way for those organizations. That is significant. And that is one of the reasons why, for me, I have to say I have to get out of IT. Because if I stay there, I'm always going to be labeled as the person that understands IT and not technology. And this shift in the way I see myself is going to happen to all of you. It's going to happen to every single one person in your organization. They will need to start thinking in tech terms. understand how technology is going to change your job, how technology is going to change your role, how technology is going to affect the people that work with you. And that is part of the journey that we're in. I'm going to ask you a question. What do you see here?
The internet.
The internet. Any other?
Light, radiation.
What else? Anyone else? Population distribution. Okay, thank you. What you see right now are the connections, right? There's a world map or internet or anything, right? But we see the world. Like we can see some of the geography that we have learned, like North America, South America, Africa, parts of Europe. That's Facebook when they reach 1 billion users. Right? It's such a powerful message. I have it. And it's one of them, it's my favorite, basically, poster that in computers and tablets and everything. I use it all the time because it's a reminder that today I can totally describe the world through Facebook connections. I can reach every single of those 2 billion users with just one post. That is transformational. How information can flow in an instant from one side of the world to the other side. And because of that, now we have to think in global terms. But how did this happen? And just give me 30 seconds to go a little bit geek on this. In 2006, something happened. And if I ask you today, what is the most transformational technology change that you have seen in the last 10 years of your life, what would you say it is? Sorry?
Instant messaging.
Instant messaging. Anything else?
Mobility.
Mobility. What else? Social media. Excellent. None of those things would have been possible without Amazon Web Services. And it's called the cloud, right? We call it the cloud today. And mobile devices have made such a big change in our society. It's incredible. But the reason why the cloud was so critical is because it was the foundation. For the first time, Amazon was able to change the business model of technology. If we didn't have the cloud, you will have to carry my backpack with an attachment for storage and a cable just to be able to simulate the storage that you have today on this device. I have unlimited photos, unlimited music. I have unlimited access to almost anything that I want in terms of information. Remove the cloud, and you have to carry that with you. Now, if I can have access to unlimited music, to unlimited photos, unlimited videos, and unlimited information, I'm having access to unlimited people. I have the proof. I have the data right here. It's right there. Do you have access to unlimited people? You have the structure to leverage unlimited information. Can you actually tap into that talent right now, the way you do with your mobile application? Can you do that? Because guess what? Your competition is working on it. They're trying to do that. They're thinking on how to do it. A kid, 18 years old, right, who said, I want to talk to my dad. And my dad is on the other side of the world in Russia. He created WhatsApp. And WhatsApp would sell for $4.8 billion, I believe. Right. Why? Because he was able to tap into this network, to understand how people are connected. And we have to do that as well. So if your organization is not really thinking about how to leverage this global pool of talent, you're not just falling behind, you're becoming irrelevant. Because the companies of the future will be global. No matter if they operate here, they need to connect with everybody around the world. Because they need everybody to add to their talent pool. They need everybody to add their skills to what you need. Because I hear it all the time, but I have the best people. I have the best talent. And that might be absolutely true. But if I have the best talent and the best people globally, I'm going to beat you. Hands down, any day, any time. You have no way to compete with me because I have access to scalability. And scalability gives me that advantage that you will never have. Now, because of that, because I can tap into anyone, anywhere, anytime, they can be literally anywhere. I like his way of working. I love it. And this is how the new generation, basically, of workers are doing work. What we used to define as a workplace, right, is not a place anymore. If you think that workplace is the place that you go to work every day, you're thinking in 20th century terms. For this generation, workplace happens right here, right now. You can be working right here, right now, at this very moment. You can be in Mexico, you can be in Hawaii, anywhere you want, and you can be working. Because we have moved from work-life balance to work-life integration. And that's a big change. Think about the old days where we have to basically go out of work, running right, to another place to take care of our family. Today, people, especially people that work with me, I say like, no, go on, do your stuff with your family and spend the afternoon with your kids and they're playing soccer. And you can have your tablet right there and be working and just plug in yourself and be in a conference call and do a Skype, right? And you can be in a video conference call right there. And it's all because, again, we're thinking now in terms of leveraging technology in very different ways. You don't need IT to do that. In the old days, you did. You remember that you used to need IT just to set up your Wi-Fi, right? And we're changing that. So that is why it's so important for all of you to become competent in tech. Because all of these services are changing the way you connect with people, the way you connect with organizations, the way you connect with work, and the way you connect with your family. So you cannot work in the balance anymore. You have to work in the integration mode. And that is why it's so important, especially having this room today, that HR helps companies understand how valuable that is as a capability. How important it is for this generation of workers to be able to do that and work from any place. Back in 1954, the first programmable and intelligent robot was created in the United States. If you have the opportunity to visit any automobile plant or any major organization where automation is significant, you're going to find basically Unimate. Unimate was the name of that first machine that was created. That was 1954. I was still working with IBM back in Colombia in 1996 when Deep Blue, did anyone remembers what Deep Blue is? Yeah. So Deep Blue was a machine created by IBM to compete with, anyone remember the name of the chess player? Thank you. Yes. Thank you for so much. I remember that day when the news came out and say, Deep Blue beat Garry Kasparov playing chess. It was the moment where AI said, machines are here to do things beyond just being repetitive and start thinking about options and possibilities. Then, in 1997, I believe, if I remember well, then there was another event. And then in 2011, what happened with Jeopardy? Watson. Thank you. Awesome. These guys are, yeah. IBM Watson beat the champions, basically, at Jeopardy, playing the game. So now we're moving from, okay, I know how to play chess because it's a machine doing all this analysis. Now I need to understand questions. And then in 2015 and 2016, Google created something called AlphaGo. Anyone? No? Okay, Go is the most complex game ever invented. Koreans, Chinese, people in Asia are crazy about it because it has almost an infinite number of possibilities on how to play the game. So for a machine to learn how to play Go, it's almost impossible because you cannot feed all that information. So what they did in AlphaGo, Google, is they taught a machine how to learn as they go. So the machine makes a move and learns again, makes another move and learns again, and learns again, and learns again. They beat the European champion and the Chinese champion, who is a legend, living legend in the game. So last year, I think it was July, when they did that, for me it was the moment where machines said, we're here not just to change the technology world, we're going to change your life forever. We're ready. We're entering the workforce. We're entering basically the society, the economics, like everything that you can imagine. Because now we're fully capable and we're fully competent. I call that coevolution. And you're going to see probably that term over the next decade. Because now, for the first time, we have not just the millennials, the X's, the boomers in the workforce. We're going to have machines as well, joining us, humans, in this new journey. And we're going to have to learn how to learn to work with machines. And machines will have to learn how to work with humans. And working together is going to be part of that journey. And if we don't learn how to work with machines, we are going to be replaced. Because the machines will continue doing more things. We still need people, but if we don't learn how to work with a machine, it's going to be like going to a job and I'm not going to be able to work with Shelly. And I could be really nice and really intelligent, but Shelly is saying, you know what, we cannot work with this guy. So guess what? I'm going to say, thank you so much, but you're probably better in another organization. We're going to go through that transition with machines as well. Feeling comfortable now? So this is the image of the future. And it's so important. The first time I saw this picture, there's one thing that really got my attention. And it's the hand on the shoulder. Because for me, that means trust. And trust is the most valuable skill. And I'm going to call them like that, right, for the future. If we can learn how to trust, basically, these machines, we're going to be doing great. Because we're going to go through this initial phase of replacement. So now we see that. Machines are replacing jobs. Machines are replacing jobs. Machines are replacing jobs. That is true. But that is a phase. And it's going to stop at some point. The next phase of that is about really working together. I call it fusion. And it's when we really need to embrace machines, not just in the physical world, but in the virtual world. Today, we see machines coming into our world. But in the future, we're going to go into the world of the machine. We call it that virtual reality today. And kids are awesome at it. They're already doing it. Every time they play a video game, that's what they do. They enter the world of a machine. And they play inside the world of a machine. And they're very comfortable. I try to do that, and I struggle. But they don't. They see that as a natural environment of doing things. And we're going to see that more and more happening because we need to learn how to be in their world as well. So I can see you in the future asking for people that are competent on playing in virtual environments. And that is the world of a machine. So creating basically this symbiotic relationship is going to be very important for the future. It's not longer an option. It's going to be a requirement. You need to learn how to be in those virtual environments, comfortable, competent, and working basically with other machines that you might not even know that they are machines, because they're going to look basically like avatars, and they might be a machine or they might be a human, but you have to basically be working together. So we're going to be moving from programming machines to teaching machines. And I've been saying this, that it's very interesting because guess what? A machine is going to learn the same way a person learns, right? And I was talking to Agatha and said, you're going to be busy for the next 20 years of your life. And what I didn't say is that she might end up teaching machines in the future about leadership, about empathy, about trust, about collaboration, about teamwork. Machines will have to learn those things in the future. And that is part of the journey that we're entering right now. So I was talking to Eric as well and say, we're reimagining our world as we go through it. So I'm building an airplane, right, while I'm flying. And this airplane doesn't have wings anymore. Has basically like a different type of engine that looks more like basically like one of those new drones. And that's what we're going through right now. Everything is changing. Everything's going to be different. Everything is going to be weird at the beginning until it becomes familiar. Right? So part of this journey is, how do we learn how to teach again? How do we teach a machine in this journey? And that is part, basically, of some of the challenges that as HR professionals, as leadership coaches, as individuals that are responsible for people will go through. This is one of the things that is really difficult, because we're going through such a significant amount of change that in most cases we don't know what we want because it's happening really fast. And one of the things that we face basically as a society is that we're now being bombarded by things that are there and we don't get it. And we see Snapchat and we're just like, that's crazy. Who's going to do that? And we see that suddenly a service that is just 3 months old gets 100 million users. It took 50 years to television to get there. 50 years. And if you think that Pokemon Go is going to go away, you're not really understanding how the world is working today. A lot of these new ideas on how to engage people, how to connect with those links are happening really fast. So we need to review the way we embrace those technologies inside our organization. But to understand the future, I'm going to take you on a quick trip to the past. Can anyone tell me the name of these devices? I will give you.
Palm Power?
You got it, but I need the name of the devices. It is, yes. You're really close. Excellent. So back in 1996, Palm Pilot was at the top of the game. They were the inventors of the PDA. That's what we used to call them, PDAs, personal digital assistant. I had one, and I loved it. It was amazing. These are the Pre and the Pixie. Those are the last devices that Palm ever created. And I usually ask this question because I get probably one out of maybe 150 or 200 people. I usually need to be in a very techie environment to get someone who's like, yeah, I know I had a Pre. I was guilty. Right? So they were really the first company to do that. But in 1996, there was a company out of Waterloo in Canada that they were experts on mostly secure communications. They were called Research in Motion, right? And they created something revolutionary. It's called the pager, right? That's actually true. It was revolutionary at that moment because it was secure communication over unsecure lines. Right? So in 1999, BlackBerry was at the top of their game. They had only 50% of the market, imagine. Why? Because they told Palm, sorry guys, we cannot just do applications, we can do secure applications. And business people thought, this is awesome, we can do that, right? And by 1996, they were perfect, this is great. We're now basically own this market. But in January of 2007, something happened. Excellent. So Steve Jobs hold his hand and say, this is the iPhone. And if we remember well, BlackBerry was disrupted by an empty MP3 player. Because Apple was not really the company that we know today. Back in those days, they were dying. And they had the iPod as the device of salvation. So a company that used to make an MP3 player suddenly turned BlackBerry into an obsolete, ugly, clunky, undesirable device. Between 2009, right, and by the time the iPhone became the iPhone that we know today, like today, BlackBerry has less than 1% of the market. Less than 1% of the market. Now, BlackBerry is trying to move into other areas, like autonomous cars and industrial automation software. But they went from kings of the mobile space to absolute irrelevancy. It happens really fast. So if you think that this is not going to happen to you, just look at the quote. 50% of the Fortune 500 have disappeared completely. We remember the Blockbuster, we remember Kodak, the big names, big brands, but we're talking about a lot of other organizations that are gone, and we don't even remember them anymore. Because today, the most valuable companies are very different. I'm going to give you an example. Which one is the most valuable car company today in the United States? Yes. Tesla. The most valuable car company in the United States. It's only second to Toyota, right? And this happened in less than 10 years. You think that Tesla is going to lose that advantage at this point? No. They are changing the model. They're changing the way we see cars. And that's going to continue happening. So we'll have to do that. Now, back to the future. Back in 2012, almost 1-to-1 device per individual. By the end of this decade, we're going to have almost 2 devices. Per person, globally. If you're not thinking about mobility right now as a core capability of your company, you're not going to be there. You have to think about this. 7.5 million people, 12 million devices. 12 billion devices. That is significant. So if your company right now is not saying, okay, mobility is not at the top of my list, you're missing out. Because that's the way people connect today. January 2017, we have, in terms of population, right? We have internet users about 3.7 billion. We have about social media users, 2.7. Unique mobile users, 4.9. And active social media users, 2.5 billion. What is really interesting is that the world of the desktop is going away. If your applications, your core applications in your business are based on desktops, they don't work for people. They work for your company, but they don't work for me. Because I have more people using this device than a desktop or a laptop today. So if my systems in my company are not enabled to work in that mobile world, my customers are going to say, I need to go somewhere else. And we see that all the time. The expectation is that everything that I do at work, I can do it on my phone. And as a client, everything that I need to do as a client, I should be able to do it through my phone. Why do I need to go to a desktop to sign on a document or to see a file? I should be able to get it on my mobile device. We need to find a different way. So what I'm going to do really quickly over the next 5 slides is to tell you that this is not about the future. What I'm talking about is not happening over the next 10 years. No, it's happening now. I'm going to give you some examples. So by the end of this year, we're going to have 268 billion downloads of mobile applications. That means it's about 38 apps per person globally. That equals about $77 billion in revenue just out of those downloads. That is more GDP than Guatemala, Salvador, Panama, Uruguay, Paraguay, and many other countries around the world. And this is just one aspect of mobility. So if we as organizations don't think that this is significant, the opportunity is huge. And this is today. This is happening right now in front of our eyes. The next transformation is automation. And if you ever get the chance to go to Amazon in Seattle, just take a look at their warehouse. It's absolutely beautiful. There's no people. Everything happens basically automatically. These are some of the machines they have. But what they have done is something even more significant. I'm going to give you a couple of things. The first one is Amazon, right? Because of automation, they're not just talking about fulfillment. Like, this is just one aspect of automation. Every time any of you go to Amazon.com or Amazon.ca, Amazon is capable of changing their prices about 2.5 million times per day. Imagine if you could go to any physical store and do that. It is impossible. So how can you compete with Amazon when they can do things like this? We can be looking at exactly the same product at the same time, and I could have a different price just because the way they analyze me as a client. The next closest competitor is Walmart and Best Buy with 50,000 changes per day. You can tell the difference. Amazon is going to kill them all the time in terms of managing pricing and managing the client and managing the relationship. What is really significant is that Amazon is leasing this technology to any of you. Most of your companies today, they try to protect those secrets. They say, no, this is my competitive advantage. I'm not going to share with you. I'm not going to give it away. What Amazon is doing is like, I don't care. I'm going to give it to you. You can use it. You can use that technology. You can go and sign up for a lot of these things with Amazon and get exactly the same service. Why? What do you think is that?
Subscription model?
Excellent. One thing, right? Somebody else?
Mass reach marketing. I'm a digital marketer.
Okay, excellent. But the next thing is they get more feedback on how to do even better and better and better from the clients. Their advantage is, I'm going to give you my toys so you can play with them, and I'm going to learn from you. And the more you play with them, the more new things I can do, so I can keep that advantage going and going and going and going. While Walmart keeps this as a secret, they only get the knowledge of the people inside Walmart. Let's go back to the Facebook picture. Global access, global talent, global pool, global everything. Amazon is saying, I don't care if you're using exactly the same tools that I'm using right now. I'm going to beat you because I'm going to look at this from a global perspective. And because of that, I have the advantage. So if we keep our doors closed to talent, to knowledge, to ideas, we're going to end up like Walmart, 5 orders of magnitude behind the leader in the market. What do you see here? It's not a trick, sorry. What do you see?
Modern art.
Modern art. It's a building, right? It's actually a building. It's in Dubai. It's the Museum of the Future. It's the first 3D printed building, 3D printed building in the world. Opened last year. One of the things that is interesting about 3D printing is that it gives you the chance to reimagine architecture. You can do shapes, things that traditional basically design will say, no, we cannot do that. In China, right now there are 3D printed bridges and houses. So they have two printers, one on each side, and they start printing the bridge one step at a time until they're done. So the machines design the whole bridge, and they do the entire construction without basically almost any human intervention. You can print a house in 24 hours in China. Right? And that house is going to cost you about $10,000. How many of you are into the tiny home or movement? Have you seen it? Any of you? Yeah. This is a big deal, right? I know of a company right now in Europe doing basically 3D design. So you should be able to print your tiny home at any location. But 3D printing is more than just structure and objects. One of the things that 3D printing allows us to do is print organs, tissue. And last year in China, they had the first bioprinted heart transplant. This was a child that needed a new heart. And what they did is they took the DNA of a child and with these bioprinting machines created a new heart for this kid that is basically part tissue, part material. So that changes the model. If you're not thinking about 3D printing, this is one of the most transformational changes in society for the future. Because now you can take an object, let's say, I love this pen, and for some reason it's broken, right? I can just melt this pen on my printer that is going to have one of those devices and print it again, just by buying some of the extra material that I need. And it comes back basically brand new. So suddenly I take waste today, that when something is broken, and turn it again in the product that I want, just by going maybe to a printing company like Kinko's or any of those, right? And just going and using those very expensive and specialized machines, getting the materials that I need, and coming out with my phone again, right? Oh, my screen broke. What do we do today? Pfft, garbage, brand new phone, right? In the future, go to this machine, put it in, remove that thing, print it again, brand new screen. I use 90% or 95% of the materials that I'm using today for the device. That is the way companies are going to rethink their business models. That is the way doctors are going to say, why do I need to spend a lot of this money on all this external equipment, what we can actually have, brand new kidney, lungs, other organs, right? Liver, right? That is 3D printed with your DNA. Changes the model, not just of economics, but society, health, everything as a whole. Drones. Has anyone actually used a drone by any chance? Yeah? Excellent. I love them. They're one of my favorite toys. But what we see here is not a toy. This is actually, it's a real drone that works like Uber. And again, in Dubai, those guys they have a lot of money, they say, let's do it, February. Let's have the first unmanned drone moving someone from, let's say, downtown Calgary to 50 kilometers somewhere out in the south. They're doing it today. You can just order the drone. It will come to the specific place, and you can just jump in, push a button, and then good to go. That is the future. This is, I will call it, this is the next generation of autonomous cars, where you should be able to go to, I don't know, the boat, right? And you say, oh, I need to go to the airport, and I want to be there in 5 minutes. Boom, one button, you're there. Or I need to go all the way to the south in Calgary. Just push one button, and then you're there. It changes the way we think about transportation. It changes the way we think about mobility. It changes the way we think about services. Because in the future, I don't think people will need a car to get this. Right? You're not going to buy a car. You're not going to basically buy even a plane ticket to go to Edmonton. All you're going to do is go to one of these buildings, push a button, and then you'll be there in probably an hour. Artificial intelligence. I'm sure all of you know this company. Last year, they signed an agreement with IBM. And this year, they made the announcement at the Super Bowl. So now, Watson is doing your taxes in the United States. Watson can learn from millions of tax returns at the same time. Watson is going to be able to find every single loophole, every single opportunity for a better return, something that any tax advisor will take years to do or to learn. So if I am a tax advisor and I see Watson doing taxes right now, I'm thinking, okay, my job is done. How do I compete with that? What do I do? Now, for the organization, they have a different view. If I have the best tax advisor in the world, what do I do with the money now? I'm not going to give you just your tax return for $25. What I'm going to do is, let's have a conversation about how will you invest that money, right, that you're getting from us. So H&R Block are going to go from being a tax company to be an investment company in the future. Just like that. Just because they were able to see the value of tech as a business capability. So by 2020, 85% of the customer interactions will be managed without a human. So every time you talk to, I don't know, your bank or even the government, you're going to see that happening. You're going to be talking, having a conversation with a machine. And you might not know that that machine actually is not human. So how about my job, right? What's going to happen? Well, that's the important question. Is how do we take basically all of these things, and as I said, it's about helping people transition from where they are right now to where they need to be. Learning is the most important thing to do today. Learning how to learn again. We have done it our entire lives, but we got lazy. I did it, I made it, I'm now at a place that I feel that I know enough of this stuff that I don't need to learn anything new. Well, guess what? That's about to change. And if you want to remain relevant, if you want to continue basically evolving and doing other things, learning how to learn new things is going to be really important. That's part of what Janice is going to do in the second part of the workshop. It's really work through some of those opportunities that we have and make sure that we're there. Quickly. University of Toronto. They did a study, I think it was 2015. Over the next 10 years, 7.5 million jobs will be lost in Canada because of machines. If we look at some of the roles that will be affected the most, and this is just one analysis. We're going to look at things like loan officers, receptionists, paralegal assistant, everything that requires basically either customer interaction or reading documents or proofreading or doing summaries. All of those activities easily automated. Now, we see physicians and surgeons, 0.4%. And I'm like, yeah, they're optimistic, but reality is some of those things will go away. Today, right, and I have a copy of the article, a machine can do a brain surgery in 2.5 minutes. It takes about 3 hours or 3.5 hours for a surgeon to do that. That is 7,000% increase in efficiency. 2.5 minutes. Who do you want to do your surgery? A machine that can do a perfect job all the time, exactly the same way. Or you want someone that might be a good brain surgeon, but not the best in the world? We're going to start basically asking those questions really soon because you're going to have that choice at the hospital. Do you want the machine or you want the human? Today, you trust more this phone to give you directions than you will trust someone with a map. Believe me, as Donald Trump will say. You're going to trust that machine to do your brain surgery more than the doctor because of the information, the ability, and the competency that they will have. One of the surveys from last year asked across the board, all organizations, do you think you're going to replace 5% of your workforce, just 5% of your workforce, before the end of 2020? These are the answers. across the industry. Pretty much everybody believes that. At least 5%. 5% is about 1 million jobs in Canada. And 1 million jobs is a lot of people. We have about 17.5 million across the country today. So that is significant. And it's going to happen. It's not about if, but how fast this will change. So if you see it, now that you know it, now that you are aware, you cannot unsee this. It's impossible. That's why I ask people, keep the conversation going, because this is just a teaser. This is just basically, you get the idea, but now you need to go into deeper conversations inside your organization. And you need not just to have a strategy, you need to set up your goals very carefully. Because in most cases, as you saw in the example on HR Block, you might end up being a very different company than you are today. And that is the most scary thought for an executive. 4 just fire their CEO because of that. Because they see that their future is not about being a car company anymore. It's something else. They don't even know what it is. But they know it's not to be a car company anymore. So for 30 seconds, this is what I'm doing right now. As I said, I had to get out of IT because I needed to change. And what I'm doing right now is helping companies build their story, because we need a story. Stories are what connects us with purpose. Stories basically make us believe in things that are sometimes impossible. We need to reimagine our business. We need to reimagine what we can do as organizations. And we need people in that picture. We have spent millions of dollars building strategies. We call it digital transformation, digital strategy, pick your name, doesn't really matter. In most cases, they don't include reimagining the business, reimagining our people. And that is one of the reasons they're failing. So for me, this is more than just a job. This is a mission. And I see that all the time. I ask the question, right? Tell me your story about your digital strategy. And people say, what do you mean the story? We have a strategy. Yeah, no, but tell me the story. Right? Tell me why. Explain that to me and tell me how you connect your people into this new way of thinking about your company and themselves. And in most cases, companies are not even considering the idea of helping their people to transition outside their organizations. And I think that's a mistake. We need to help them understand that. So 63% of the CEOs today, they don't even have the digital skills. So if your leaders don't have those skills, your company is going to have a very difficult time understanding. So the new skills, the training, that's what we're going to see in the second part of the workshop. Because we need to move from the knowledge worker to the digital worker. It's not longer enough to know everything about something. The knowledge worker is a concept of the 60s. Peter Drucker, I think, was the one who created the term. If you know a lot about something, that's good for you. But that's not good enough for the future. Because in the future, as I said, we're so connected that no matter how much you think you know, Watson is going to know more than you. Guaranteed. I can bet money on that. You need people that are more open to work together, to collaborate, to be more empathetic, to understand how to work in virtual teams, how to work from a mountain, from the pool, from the beach, from anywhere. Be able to work with people from different cultures, different backgrounds, different languages. All those things change the equation and change the way we look at people and talent and skills in the organization. I promise I'll send the slides. So all of that kind of sounds scary, but there's hope. China, 400 million jobs because of digital. That's the opportunity. But if we don't change, if we don't learn, we're not going to be able to be there. It's like saying, well, I'm not going to learn how to use a computer because typewriters, believe me, I know how to do it, right? We have to change our mindset. Technology has created more jobs than it has destroyed. And this is just data. And it will continue happening. But it's up to us to really embrace this new world, to understand what are the new skills, the new competencies. How do we work with people across the globe? Because 10 years ago, there was not such thing as an iPhone developer or a social media manager. Nobody had that job. And today, believe me, the iPhone developers, top of the line. Everybody wants them. Everybody needs them. Social media managers, social media, who cares about that? Tell that United. Right? Yeah? So we have to be open. We have to explore those opportunities, not just with our minds, but our hands as well. We have to act on it in order to get something done. Because that is the reality of business transformation. We don't want to be part of the 70% that are failing today. And most of them are failing because of people. It's not because of the technology. The technology is already there. It's because of us. Because we're not part of this story. We don't see ourselves in the picture. And companies are guilty of this. And we as leaders in many organizations, as part basically of the team that is needed to make this happen, we need to raise our hands and say, hey, wait a minute. Where is the people in this story? And that is part of what Janice is going to help us create this afternoon. Not this afternoon, but in the rest of the morning, sorry. I'm thinking that already the afternoon. So thank you so much for your time. I hope you found some interesting tips here, that you got some good notes. I believe that the presentation will be available to people. So if there's anything else that you want to see or talk about, feel free. We can talk about it during the break or after the session. So thank you so much for your time this morning.
Okay, I did promise you that you were going to need seat belts, so I hope that